Welcome to The Explainer, where we break down big ideas. Today we're going to crack open the Storyteller's Toolbox. We're going to see how every story you've ever loved, from giant blockbusters to your favorite novels, is actually built. So let's kick things off with a little puzzle, one you already know the answer to.
I mean, seriously, think about it. Right at the beginning of Titanic, we meet Old Rose, we know she survives, we know for a fact the ship sinks. So why on earth do we spend the next 3 hours completely on the edge of our seats? What's the secret?
Well, it's not magic. It all boils down to these two incredibly powerful elements: time and space. They aren't just the wallpaper for a story. They are the actual levers a creator pulls to control what you feel, what you know, and, crucially, when you know it.
So let's pop up in that toolbox and take a look at the first big tool: time. You see, in a story, the clock doesn't just tick away normally. Oh no, it stretches, it gets squeezed, and it can bend completely to the storyteller's will.
And this is the core idea right here. Narrative time is totally elastic. Think of it like a rubber band. A writer can stretch a single second out over 10 pages, making you feel every tiny detail. And in the next breath, they can skip over a whole decade in a single sentence. It's all about directing your attention and messing with your emotions.
Okay, so how do they actually do this? How does a writer literally bend time? Well, it turns out they have 3 main controls they can play with, almost like the knobs on a mixing board.
Yeah, a brilliant theorist named Gerard Genette basically broke it down to these 3 things: the order you see events in, how long you spend on them, and how many times you're told about them. Let's dig into each one.
So, just reordering events can create completely different feelings. In Batman Begins, we keep flashing back to the past to understand why Bruce Wayne is so intense. It's all about motivation. But with Titanic, that flash forward at the beginning does something else entirely. We know Rose lives, so the question immediately changes from will she survive to the much more tragic, so what happened to everyone else? What happened to Jack? It creates this powerful sense of dread and irony that hangs over the entire film.
On top of shuffling the timeline, the storyteller is also kind of like a DJ, controlling the tempo. They can hit the slow-mo button, stretching out a single moment, like when we see Sherlock's mind working in slow motion, so we can appreciate his genius. They can just let a scene play out in real time, like a conversation, to make it feel grounded. Or they can slam on the fast forward, summarizing years of Scrooge's life in a paragraph. Or just skipping the boring summer holidays in Harry Potter to get right to the good stuff. And finally, there's the third knob: repetition. Now, that might sound boring, right? Hearing the same story again and again. But in a masterpiece like Rashomon, it's everything. Telling the story of a single murder from 4 totally different perspectives doesn't just add new details. It completely shatters our confidence that there's one single truth. The story becomes a puzzle about human perception itself.
Okay, so we've got a handle on time. But believe it or not, that's only half the battle. Just as important is the other major tool in the box: space. And let me tell you, where a story takes place is never just a random backdrop.
The setting of a story is an active participant. It's not just a pretty postcard. It can define who a character is, it can set up all the unspoken rules of that world, and it can carry this deep symbolic meaning that makes the whole story resonate.
So you start with the physical space, the stuff you can actually see and touch. The desert in Mad Max isn't just a bunch of sand. It's the perfect physical representation of a harsh, broken world. But then you layer the social space on top of that. In The Great Gatsby, East Egg and West Egg are physically close, but socially, they might as well be on different planets. That invisible line between old money and new money defines every single conflict in that book.
And this is where space gets really interesting, when it becomes symbolic. A haunted house in a story is rarely just about ghosts, right? It's a metaphor for the family's haunting memories or secrets. A dark forest in a fairy tale isn't just some trees. It symbolizes a journey into the unknown, a place where you have to face your fears to grow. The location becomes the emotion.
Okay, so we've got time and we've got space. But the real master-level craft, that's what happens when a storyteller doesn't just use them separately, but melts them together into something totally new and powerful.
There's this incredible concept from a Russian theorist named Mikhail Bakhtin called the chronotope. It's a fancy word, but it literally just means time-space. And his whole idea is that in certain stories, time and space get so tangled up together that they become a single thing, a unit of meaning that can define a whole genre.
So for example, take the chronotope of the road. The physical space,
a road, a path, or a river, like in Huckleberry Finn, is fused with this sense of constantly moving, forward-flowing time. It's the perfect time-space for stories about journeys, random meetings, and personal change. The character is basically defined by their movement through this world.
Then you have the threshold. Here, the space shrinks down to one critical point. A doorway, a bridge, a choice. And time becomes incredibly intense, focusing on a single decisive moment. The moment Neo chooses the red pill in the Matrix is the perfect threshold. That one tiny space, in that one split second, marks a change so huge there's absolutely no going back.
And one more, the provincial town. This one fuses a small, closed-off space with a slow, circular sense of time. Life repeats itself, tradition is everything, and nothing ever seems to change. Think about Maycomb in To Kill a Mockingbird. Time just kind of plods along, reinforcing the town's old habits and prejudices, until a huge crisis comes and smashes that cycle to pieces.
So why does any of this stuff really matter? Because these tools aren't just for telling a good yarn. The way storytellers build these fictional worlds has real consequences for how we end up seeing our own.
Here's the thing, no story's world is ever neutral. Every single choice a writer makes about time and space is loaded with a perspective. You have to ask, whose timeline are we following? Whose version of this place are we seeing? These choices are never neutral, they are always political.
And you can see this really clearly in the real world. As the scholar Asif Nawaz points out, for centuries, colonial stories described colonized places as timeless or primitive. Now, that might sound poetic, but it's actually a subtle move of power. It erases that place's real history and its ability to change on its own, making it seem like it needs saving. That's the politics of time and space, right there.
So the next time you get totally lost in a book or a film, I want you to try something. Just for a second, pull back and look at the toolbox. Ask yourself, how is this story playing with my sense of time? What messages are secretly baked into its spaces? Because once you understand how the story is built, you get that much closer to understanding what it truly means.